Yeah! Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us. We come to you live on Twitch, Pride of Detroit, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. You can't see us if you're listening on the podcast. This is not a visual medium on the podcast. Just let you know that this is a celebration. The Packers were beaten, which means many things are happening. I'm Christopher Fett, the adequate host at Christopher Fett on Twitter of the adequate host of the PODcast, at a loss for words at what I've witnessed today, and busting out the Hawkamania t-shirt for irony. My eternal co-host and the man who runs everything, the producer and fearless leader of Pride Detroit, has gone full on cosplay and is now Macho Man Randy Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online.
That's right, brother. We got you another Lions victory today, and all the cream rose to the top. Kirby Joseph, James Mitchell, Jerry Jacobs. All up in your face, Aaron Rodgers.
Say fuck the Packers.
Fuck the Packers!
And the man who cannot even look at either of us straight right now, the third man, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Hello, Ryan.
Can we just talk about stuff, because I can't even put what just happened into words.
You can't even.
I
can't even with this game, man. Like this was something. We could be doing a very different podcast right now. I want you to understand that. This game nearly ripped my soul out.
I have one thing to say off the top. I lost money on this game, and I'm so glad. I don't even care. I don't even care.
You just mean in the couch cushions, right?
This game took
I
about...
sat down. I'm changeless.
I never want to go through a fourth quarter like that again.
I
never want to go... I know you do, but I never want to go through a fourth quarter where it's like, we've got a bit of hope, like where oh my God, the failed conversion on fourth down to turn into the slip and slide for the fumble, to apparently the refs not knowing how to operate a clock and giving the Packers a free timeout, to whatever that was near the end of the end zone, all without the star of the day, Kirby Joseph. I was in a kind of way.
I mean, that's a Lions football game for you, right?
Like, I know. Cardiac cats, baby.
Here's the thing. We never really come out on top like that against Aaron Rodgers, right? That's the main difference is after they convert that first fourth down on the final drive, you're just like, well, Lions had their shot and they didn't make it. And then what do you know? They don't get an extra yard the rest of the way. They don't even get a single yard the rest of the way. Lions shut them down. 4th and 10, nada. Aaron Rodgers goes home crying. I'll take that fourth quarter any day.
We've got lots. Yeah. Go on, Ryan. Go on.
No, I think the thing that we all want to talk about, what we don't want to talk about, is that this was like watching the Vikings game all over again.
Yep.
Yes.
It was almost the exact same scenario. The Lions had an opportunity where, maybe if they wanted to think about like leading up to that point, like getting into like field goal range to try to kick a field goal, like all of a sudden the Lions are in the same exact situation. And I think we're all pretty happy that they went for it, even though they didn't get it right. Like that was the right call. Like I think that we're fine with it, because Dan Campbell trusted his defense, because this is the best defensive effort that they had.
He was right to trust his defense today. Yes.
Yeah, like his defense had something today. And I don't know if it's just that the Packers are missing their mojo and that translates into the Lions having a really good defensive performance. But, like, I don't care. End of the day, it's still Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the field. And this game, Jeremy, it probably shouldn't have been close if not for the Lions doing the one thing that we all said they needed to do all season long, force turnovers.
Yeah, defend the pass. Like, that's the story of the game, right? Because the Lions went into this game with 18 passes defended, worst in the league. They went into the game 31st in interceptions, 2 on the season. They go out and add 9 passes defended in a single game and 3 interceptions. And listen, I mean, that has to be the storyline of this one, right? And it's...
Shall we talk about the man? The man?
Sure.
Kirby Joseph, baby. Have yourself a game.
Just a ridiculous performance from him, man. Obviously, the first interception, maybe a bit of luck on his hand, but a sign of thing. And listen, like he had come so close in games before He deserved to get one out of luck. But everything else was just skill. I mean, honestly, I think his pass breakup might have been the best play of the game. That deep shot that Aaron Rodgers makes 10 out of 10 times wasn't a bad throw. I know he'll probably want it back and say it was underthrown, but full extension Kirby Joseph knocked that one down. And
yeah, even though it was an underthrown ball, to your point, Jeremy, like it's still a ball that the receiver could have adjusted and still made the catch, like
100%.
close to the ground, 100%. So like, yeah, but I gotta say, there was nothing more impressive than the way he jumped that route on that second interception, man.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness, like,
He
but
survived it the whole way.
But it's just like play after play after play from a guy that we were really worried about, like at the beginning of the season, getting a good fair of snaps. And I think that this is one of those maybe like coming out games for a guy. Like, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, and I think that his impact and was understood by fans no greater than when he did leave the game, when he had that bad collision with Jeff Okudah, where he had to leave. And Okudah came back, but Joseph had to get checked out for a concussion. He didn't come back into the game. But as soon as he left, I saw a lot of fans deflating after that, because they understood that impact he was bringing to the game, that his ability to make big plays that I haven't seen since Glover Quinn and Darius Slay made up that backfield.
Jeremy, CJ Moore makes one of the biggest plays of the game.
Absolutely. Like, here's that's the thing. Like, the story of this game was written when the Lions needed to get defensive stops. Oh, of course, Kirby Joseph and Jeff Okudah, the best defensive backs, run into each other and get hurt. Well, Aaron Rodgers is going to have it easy. But no, guys stepped up. That's why, like, I don't want to give too much credit to Kirby Joseph, because this was a huge defensive effort from everyone in that secondary. Jerry Jacobs deserves a lot of credit. Even Jeff Okudah, I know he gave up a couple of big plays, knocked down a 2-point conversion. Like,
Deshaun Elliott
played well. And, I mean, we went into this week thinking one thing. Wow, the Packers offense sucks. Well, this is going to be the get-right game for the Packers passing offense. Turned out to be the get-right game for the Lions secondary. And who would have seen that coming?
Great game for Derek Barnes, too. Some great performances across the defense. I didn't think the Lions got a lot of pass protection penetration. Aaron Rodgers had a lot of time to throw in the pocket, but still, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's logging an interception, too. So, and again, we have to your point, Jeremy, doing half of your season total in passes defended in this game.
It's incredible.
Whatever they were doing, they had Aaron Rodgers in their sight, and they understood that. And I don't think the Packers really had an answer, because they tried. I was counting this here on their receiving targets. They had 40 targets. Ryan, you know how many people Aaron Rodgers tried to spread the ball out to?
Today?
Yes.
8?
12. Here's the whole list: Amari Rodgers, David Bakhtiari, Sammy Watkins, A.J. Dillon, Romeo Doubs, Mercedes Lewis, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Robert Tonyan, Samori Toure, who I have not even heard of before, Josiah DeGuara, and Alan Lazard.
David Bakhtiari. What a dumb play. What an absolutely dumb play that the Packers didn't need to call, and that Aaron Rodgers didn't need to treat like he was passing to David Bakhtiari like a baguette. Or no, excuse me, like a croissant. Like, he like delicately like tossed it in the air.
Horrible throw.
I was like, what, you worried that he has lineman hands? I mean, he
Probably,
does, which
right.
is
yeah,
but like, what a dumb play call. That's just what I mean. It feels, Jeremy, like, I guess my point is, like, there feels like a little bit of dumb luck to, like, the first pass is off Derek Barnes' face mask and flips up in the air on the goal line. Like, they showed the stat. I think it was something like Aaron Rodgers had 163 passing attempts in the red zone.
Yeah, he never throws red zone interceptions.
Never throws red zone, and 2 of them in one half.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. There is some luck, and there is some yeah, the Packers passing offenses sucked all year. But
it's a bad team. I hate to say it. I still love beating them, but they are a bad team this year.
You still have to give a ton of credit to how the defensive backs played in this game. And
absolutely,
listen,
that's one of the best quarterbacks in the league ever.
The elephant in the room here is, like, well, the Lions made some significant changes in the secondary this week, right? They fired Aubrey Pleasant, and I'm not going to sit here and say Aubrey Pleasant was the problem. I don't think I come away from this game thinking that. I do come away thinking that maybe it lit a fire under Lions secondary. I do come under the impression that maybe having Aaron Glenn having more of an influence in that room is probably a positive thing. because if you don't like Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator, that's fine. But he's got a pretty big resume in his Saints days as being a defensive backs coach. And having him in the room more often is helpful. No question about it. And then also...
More hands-on, if nothing else.
Sure.
Right.
And then, of course, like, I look and what does a guy like Amani Oruwariye feel like on a day like this, where the Lions had to shuffle through some corners. He never even sniffed the field. The Lions opted to go with Mike Hughes on the outside, who was okay. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. But then Jerry Jacobs comes in for a handful of snaps and just seems to make an impact every time he was out there.
And jaws off at Aaron Rodgers to boot.
And shit talks Aaron Rodgers, which, I mean, that shoots him to the top of my depth chart.
Yeah, so I saw some fans saying, like, you're in no position to shit talk Aaron Rodgers, but like, hey man, dub.
He is now.
I will say Dan Campbell did afterwards say he gave the game ball to Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
And I know that's kind of PR to boost Aaron Glenn's image. He's been public enemy number one in Detroit while the defense has been bad. I think this takes a lot of pressure off him. And I can tell this game took a lot of pressure, Ryan, off of Dan Campbell himself. He seemed more tired than he usually is after a win. I don't know if we got the locker room sound. We'll probably play it during a break or something, but he at the podium, though, seemed exhausted. Like, I think he understood the weight this took off of his shoulders, because for the last few weeks, it feels like the hounds have been kind of closing in that this experiment might not work. And I'm not trying to say that everything's right and back on the tracks, but this is a results-driven league. And when you post a win over a very hated divisional rival and snap a 5-game losing skid, there's a little bit of weight off your shoulders. Like, all right, maybe some of these changes that I'm making are working out in the short term right now. It's got to keep happening, but it is a burden off the shoulders, at least.
Yeah, I think the way that Dan Campbell talked about Aubrey Pleasant's firing earlier in the week was he called it a production-based league. And I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I do find it very, very interesting that the week that the Lions do make a change at that position, the defensive backs group has the best week that they've had by far. And such a huge improvement that, I mean, I don't want to even dare say it is night and day. Like, today was night and day. And I want to try to rein myself back and say, okay, they were playing the Packers. The Packers are really struggling in their passing offense. As Chris mentioned, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is throwing to an entire cast of characters. So where do I find the truth? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where a lot of Lions fans will go, is they'll say, like, okay, is this an outlier? Like, is this an outlier performance in the same way that the first half against Washington was an outlier?
Right.
And I'm not trying to be wet blanket. I'm really not. I'm more excited that the Lions won. I'm definitely not a person who's about losses to try to get a draft pick at this point. Like, that isn't what this rebuild needs. Like, maybe there was an argument to be had last season, but I don't think that there's an argument to be had this season that the Lions should be losing games or prioritizing losing games instead of winning football games. Because, like you said, Chris, like, this is what the regime needs. Like, this is what will put you on the hot seat, and winning football games is good for the Lions.
No question.
It is. I think the good draft is also good for them, but I think there's a sweet medium, and I think there's enough depth in this draft that you should not be sweating your position at all, especially when it looks like the Rams took a loss today too. So, like, that draft pick is going to continue to be in play.
The Lions have a lot of draft capital right now. If quarterback is the one thing they're eyeing, they're going to have a shot at it.
They've got several in this draft.
Even if, as I predicted in last week's podcast, that this team is not going to be picking in the top 5. Well, guess what? They're 5 now, and they still get to play the Packers one more time. So
the one other change, and funny enough, and along with the Aubrey Pleasant, kind of the coincidental change, is that the Lions did deal T.J. Hawkinson at the deadline, and both touchdowns happened to be Jesus Christ, Chris, caught by 2 different tight ends. Shane Zylstra, who, along with is that his brother, Jeremy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Basically getting activated up from the practice squad and
who had an impromptu kick return.
Sure.
Yes.
And it was good. He got it up to like the 40-yard line. That's where the Lions' first drive started.
Yeah. Great day for the Zylstra brothers. But another rookie. Like, this is the game where you wanted to see what we talk about, Ryan. This year is about progress from your younger players, James Mitchell shows up. James Mitchell, now that, he's not playing behind TJ Hawkinson, I know it's going to be a while for James Mitchell if he does progress that way, but he's got a touchdown. He's being interviewed afterwards. He looked fine in the red zone, I thought.
I think it's like tight end position stock up ? Just because it's,
Yeah.
A couple of, if you want to chalk it up to Ben Johnson, but like, I think as an overall position, I think like the Lions were comfortable making that trade because they could afford themselves the opportunity to like not eat Hawkinson's cap next season, but also get a chance to see a guy like James Mitchell get extended play and an extended rub. And like, I don't know, like, did the offense look that much worse today without TJ Hawkinson?
Yep.
No. I don't think it was TJ Hawkinson. I think
it's not because of TJ Hawkinson, Jeremy.
Can you say that definitively?
I think we really had a Jared Goff problem today. I think Jared Goff was really bad.
That is, hold up, that's tagged for segment 2. We have to go in depth on.
I'm just
Jared
saying
Goff.
we're raving about a tight end crew that caught 3 passes for 9 yards. I know 2 of them.
I'm not raving about it. I'm just saying that they had the 2 touchdowns today.
They did not make that much of a difference today. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like, congratulations to James Mitchell. That was a good. Actually, both of his catches were big. I'll say that. He got a touchdown and he got a 3rd down conversion on that last drive that deleted another 2 minutes off the clock.
So
Shane Zylstra, congratulations on getting 14.5 yards separation on your touchdown pass.
Yeah, okay, that's why. Okay, Ben Johnson deserves a little bit of credit there, but I'm saying that if I tell you that TJ Hawkinson has a game where he catches 2 touchdown passes for 9 yards on 3 catches, you don't care. Like, you're happy with TJ Hawkinson's play that game.
With how cynical people have gotten about TJ Hawkinson, I don't think that's true.
Lions won.
I'm just
You're
saying
the wet blanket.
Their offense was garbage today, and I'm not saying TJ Hawkinson would have made all the difference, but he would have helped.
Maybe. Well, we'll talk about that offense a little bit later. We'll go a little bit deeper into the defense on what really made it sing and click here, because we've got a lot to break down, and it's not just flowers and roses. The Lions are still 2-6 at the end of the day, but
tonight
you
we
buy
celebrate.
yourself what?
Tonight we celebrate.
Tonight we celebrate because it was the Packers. It was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers looking beyond tilted. And fingers crossed that all these injuries just don't play out at least towards a positive arc, because both sides were getting savaged out there with the amount of injuries. More the Packers than the Lions, but still the Lions took, like, again, your star of the show has to go out, and hopefully that concussion is not serious, but we'll see. For right now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to celebrate with our audience a little bit more. This is Movember. We are doing a lot of fun things. Check out prideofdetroit.com for the donation links for Movember, or join us on twitch.tv/pridedetroit live during the PODcast, post-game, first bite, mailbag, Madden Sims, our Friday interviews we're now doing in Movember. Me and Jeremy got to talk to Frank Ragnow, and he says he's caught a fish bigger than Jamal Williams. It was a fun interview, but all that stuff is in benefit of the Alzheimer's Association. And if you join us live and donate through Tiltify, you can get plenty of rewards, like, I don't know, drawing on our faces, or apparently we're very close to the old-timey baseball stream where I have to go eat at Olive Garden. I've never eaten at Olive Garden in my life. And it's all to a very good cause. And you can cause us a lot of pain, because I know some of you just hate us.